All right, let's go, because you know what I came in to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
These welterweight contenders are running scared. Yeah. So now we're hearing Boots Ennis. His old man is saying that Boots was offered an opportunity to fight Terence Crawford via BLK Prime. When asked to sit down and talk, he insisted that Showtime be involved, as he didn't know what he was doing. Bozy also expressed his love and loyalty to Stephen Espinosa. Now this is on the back of Paco Vaccarell from the WBO telling us that Virgil Ortiz twice turned down his mandatory shot at Terence Crawford. I don't let these, or should I say, I don't give these new school fighters that boogeyman title. I really don't. Except Terence Crawford, of course. Some boxing fans of certain fighters will try the old revisionist history trick. This guy is the boogeyman like it's a badge of honor. But is it really? Maybe. It's no consolation to them old school fighters that were getting dodged and ducked every second though. Let me tell you that now. When Wilder turned down the DAZN deal, where he would have fought AJ twice and probably had 2 fights outside that, one of them would have been Dominic Brazil and maybe Luis Ortiz. When he turned it down, Stephen Espinosa was talking about he appreciates Wilder's loyalty. What is all this loyalty that Wilder expresses to the likes of Stephen Espinosa? Or Adrian Broner declares his loyalty with Al Heyman in 2018, and then in 2023, recently, says loyalty to Al Heyman is why PBC fighters reject big money fight offers. What is all that about? You know, Errol Spence explains why he'll never go against Al Heyman. Spence says Heyman's interest in him doing well beyond the sport of boxing has earned his loyalty. Where's Al Heyman's loyalty to the boxing fans so we get to see some of these fights? What is it they're doing over there that's getting all this loyalty? They're not getting paid no more than the likes of AJ, Fury, and Canelo. You know, when people talk about the cult of PBC, we've got to add Showtime into that. And what is going on behind closed doors? I'm fully aware that Boots Ennis is not PBC, but it's still that side of the street in terms of the networks. Why would his dad do that? And just the other day, be talking about Terence Crawford, why don't you pick up the phone and give him a call? Like, is Crawford avoiding the smoke? That's dishonest. Like Stephen Espinosa is going to accommodate Boots fighting on BLK Prime. Come on, man. I needed to call Stephen Espinosa because I didn't know what I was doing. He's not legally obligated to consult Stephen Espinosa. He's not legally signed into a contract with Stephen Espinosa. But yet, his loyalty and obligation stops him doing good business for his son and getting him a title shot. That's if they wanted the title shot. He's not with Al Heyman, so the only person he would have had to consult is Tom Brown, his promoter. That's who's on the paperwork for most of his fights as his promoter, is Tom Brown, not Stephen Espinosa. What is this shit? Here's what it is. It's just current day boxing.
Politics as usual.
Everyone is trying to make the key fights that people want to see except Showtime and the PBC. Then, like, it might sound like, oh, you're just hating all the time. You're always saying this, but the evidence leads to that. That's what the evidence leads to. I don't know what else I would say. What else is it I can say? If you support boxers from that side of the street, what else is it I can say? Where does the evidence lead? See, this is why I don't listen to people who say I'm shilling for DAZN. This is why. Look what Joe Mikowski has said against what I've just been speaking about with Boots Ennis, his dad, BLK Prime, and Stephen Espinosa. Joseph Mikowski has given an open invitation to all promoters, PBC, Top Rank, TGB, Lou DiBella, to promote fights on their platform with no obligation or commitment to the platform. They are trying to break the barriers between promoters and networks. And this isn't the first time he said something like this. Now you're going to say, oh, they're only doing that because subscriptions are low. And your reply is the problem with what is wrong with boxing. Rather than saying, yo, that is good that he's extending an olive branch to make the fights we want to see, you go into your tribal, or where PBC, where Top Rank, and where this and that, and we're stuck in the same situation. That's why I'm going to continue to do what I do and say it the way I want to say it. What other network is saying what Joey's saying? Show me another network who's saying that, and then you can come and talk to me. If you can't bring an argument like that back, I don't want to hear what you got to say about Shilling and I hate Eddie and I hate this and that. I don't want to hear what you got to say. They're only saying that because they can't sell subscriptions. Well, Top Rank are not exactly doing big viewership numbers or big pay-per-view numbers, if any pay-per-view at all. And that goes for the PBC. So what is it you're talking about? What do you want DAZN to do? Just let their business sink into the bottom of the ocean without trying to remedy it by working with other outlets? The fuck? If I was hearing the same thing coming from the PBC or Showtime, do you think I'd be anti-PBC and Showtime? Is that what you think this is? This is where you're mistaken, and this is where you can't say, oh, I'm just doing what you're doing, Beats. I'm just hating like you're hating. No. No. We're not on the same wavelength at all. Riches.
Riches. Well, it's so much fame. You got to pay some dues if you play this game. A success.
Success is the word. Now, I like the way Boxing Social have framed it. Jake Paul claims, not Jake Paul has done updated pay-per-view numbers, but Jake Paul claims, and this is a claim from Jake Paul and whoever is at ESPN, I guess, saying that he sold 775,000 pay-per-view buys, which is enormous, absolutely enormous. The Saudis put on a massive spread. It was a huge event, and despite taking an L to Tommy Fury, he took a philosophical look at the loss and let us know he delivered 775,000 of these last Sunday to customers. And that's, I guess, people questioning if he's a legitimate boxer. He's taping up the boxes. He's a boxer, all right, as far as he's concerned. Yeah, good numbers. No, great numbers. Great numbers. What's next, a rematch with Fury or KSI? I guess he marches on. It is what it is. Ryan Garcia and Tank are tentatively scheduled for the 22nd of April. That's the next big fight announcement we're awaiting. Oscar's talking about 2 million homes, 2.5. Oscar's a bit crazy. It's not realistic as far as I'm concerned. But can it get anywhere near to what these numbers Jake Paul is claiming his fight with Tommy did? Can any fight this year get anywhere near that with the declining popularity of pay-per-view events in boxing? Now, Showtime basically have two platforms to sell the pay-per-view. Obviously their own and DAZN, but it's going to be a Showtime platform. It's just going to be distributed on DAZN. So they should be able to do at least 500,000, and depending how much they lay out on promotion, that could be labelled a success. Some people are saying with it looking like Tank is going to do a bid soon after the fight, he needs all the money you can get. So all that, we're just going to do it on Showtime and cut everyone else out. They had to do an about turn and bring DAZN in to maximise the profits. Tank needing all the money you can get right now. You know what I'm saying? So that sounds like a plausible explanation to me. You know, some people are still going to be saying, well, why put it on DAZN? Nobody watches DAZN. But DAZN was the only network who registered a 1 million pay-per-view buy fight with Canelo and Triple G last year. Who else did that? The Misfits on DAZN, they march on. They introduced the tag team boxing yesterday. And it got a mixed reaction. Lou DiBella said it was entertaining brilliance without his purist hat on. There were boxing fans who said it was dangerous, a gimmick, and bad for boxing, etc., etc. The one I saw, right? The man I get a beating, you know, he's getting a beating, and his partner's trying to tag in. In a gesture of resignation, he didn't want no more. He's leaning over the top rope, not facing his opponent. And he's trying to tag his partner in, I guess, to bail him out. And they couldn't get the tag done properly. His partner's trying to tag in, and he's trying to tag out while he's getting his clock cleaned, and the referee stopped it. Oh, dear. You see, the thing is, right? On a superficial level, shit's entertaining because it's just like, you know what it's like? It's like when I go around my mum, rest in peace, and we used to watch the preliminary rounds of Pop Idol or X Factor or something, and you get the Lord awful people trying to get through the preliminary rounds. Like, the guy who got stopped, don't want to critique because I'm not going in, it takes bravery to go in the ring. But he was throwing these right hands that came up so short before the stoppage. I'm like, what is this? And look, it ain't going nowhere. I don't think it's going nowhere because they're just going to reinvent it. Tag team or whatever quirky things they can add to it, they're going to add to it. It's not going nowhere. This circuit ain't going nowhere. Now, DAZN may disband with this Misfits thing once it served its purpose, or if it's getting too much of a negative reaction, but it would just go somewhere else. The Fight streaming app, if it's going to succeed, they need to get a YouTube channel. And maybe they do. I just haven't found it. But they need to do a highlight reel of the events they do. I'm not saying give away all the content for free, but O'Hara Davis scored a brilliant body punch KO over Lewis Ritson last night in Newcastle. And yeah, there was some video surfacing of the punch. I saw the punch, I saw the knockout, I saw the sequence just before the knockout. But, you know, they need to get a highlight reel going. I mean, if the likes of BT, DAZN, Sky, Top Rank, PBC have highlight reels, and you don't have one, how are you really going to advertise that you're here if you have no presence at all? Suppressing all of the content, like to say, well, if you didn't pay for it, you're just not going to see none of it. It's not a good idea. It's not really a good idea. Just select a few rounds, maybe 2-3 rounds, and give us 20 seconds of each round. At least something, some visual of what happened. You could have showed a few highlights of Thomas Patrick Ward losing his unbeaten record to Kolmatov, who looks a bit handy, the Uzbekistan. Looks very handy. And gave Thomas Ward a beating that went a bit under the radar. You got to hand out a few samples. You're new. You're new to the game. You got to hand out a sample. You know what I mean? Show us what the production values are like. That, you know, you're competing. Show us you got something. But if you don't show anything at all, I dread to see what them numbers for the O'Hara Davis fight. I mean, they're charging £10 for that card as well. Which, I don't know how much numbers it's going to do, man. I really don't know how much numbers it's going to do. You know, DAZN had a card in Mexico. I didn't even get to see it, and I'm subscribed. I haven't even watched it yet, just time. But, you know, they had highlights of the main event on YouTube. Conor's legal and scientific teams created a 270-page dossier of information regarding the banned substance and testing procedures. He told Piers Morgan fighting for his innocence was doing it the hard way. He said he's never seen a case like this, whether they've raised their hands to taking something or they've just accepted a small ban. He said he could have said, yo, I accidentally took this, accepted a small ban, and he would have had his license by now. But he said his pride is why he's kept fighting, and his pride is why he won't hand over the information to the board. He won't hand the dossier to them. He's not going to cooperate or comply with anything they've got to say. He said he's not planning to fight in the United Kingdom anytime soon. The truth is, though, like, a lot of people say, the board, give it to the board. What are the board going to do differently to the WBC? Some of you guys are talking like you know the history of the board or their capabilities or their financial limitations. And you obviously don't. You don't. I could go through the incompetence board in recent years regarding PED cases, but it's unfair on the fighters to keep bringing up their name. This is Conor's case. Let Conor deal with what Conor's got to deal with. So Ben says, fighting on away soil is a small price to pay. He said his dad tore up the British boxing license on TV in the 80s, and that was after he fought Iran Barkley, because that fight was supposed to be in the UK, but because the board wouldn't pass Barkley on his medicals concerning his eyes, the fight didn't happen there, and Ben tore up the license. Although Ben did end up fighting on home soil again. When asked by Piers Morgan why he wouldn't hand the details over, he said pride. So he's going to reinvent his career in the Middle East and America, and maybe around other areas around Europe. Remember, he was raised in Spain with his old man, and his mum speaks a Spanish just as good as speaks the Anglais, you know? Yeah, just reinvent, move on. Manny Pacquiao, he said, according to Sean Gibbons, he will fight Conor as long as the WBC cleared him, and that's done. Now, Manny has to get cleared by his situation with Paradigm Sports, where he's apparently in breach of contract, so they say. And we could get that fight. And if not, there's some other good fights out there for Conor. There's some very good fights. Even the Eubank fight. That could go to the Middle East. That could go to Spain. That could go to America. That can go to other venues. That can go to other locations. If he really wants to fight in the UK, he could take out a German license. I think they've got a couple of boards that operate in Britain. Luxembourg, Malta. The guy who used to run Malta, he now is the head of the British and Irish Boxing Authority. I actually spoke to him. His name is Gianluca Di Caro. And he was going to license Nigel Benn for his comeback in 2019. But Ben got injured and the event was called off. Conor could get licensed with them if he chose to. It won't be the preferred choice by Eddie Hearn. Still haven't managed to get any highlight or a copy of the Omano Resendiz Jarrett HURD fight. It looked like a really good fight. Jarrett was busted up inside his mouth, cut badly, and had to stop it in the 10th. 21-month layoff and a lot of hard battles is now taking its toll, it looks like. But depending on how they match him, he'll still be in some good fights. Mark Masayo, he complained a lot about the decision loss to Brandon Figueroa, but he wasn't allowed the space to really let his fast hands go. Masayo's hands look quick when he's throwing in combination, but Brandon was the stronger guy. He controlled the inside clinches, which Masayo was equating it to what Floyd Mayweather done. Bizarre outburst, but, you know, boxers get frustrated after L's, you know what I mean? He was actually docked a couple of points for holding, was Masayo. I only saw a highlight, extended highlight of it. And, you know, it looked like Brandon had the better of the exchanges, you know. I thought it would be a difficult fight, though. Toe-to-toe action. Masayo just had to concede ground too much, though, from what I saw. I'm actually going to avoid the actual IFL interview because it's just going to be depressing for me. According to the Sun newspaper, Tyson Fury's undisputed clash with Alexander Usyk is not far off collapsing, according to promoter Frank Warren. You know, they've been in talks for a little while now. Talks are continuing to stall. I guess it was a little inevitable once they couldn't secure the funds from Saudi Arabia. If Tyson wants 60-40, 70-30, 65-35 at Wembley, just to say he's the A-side, when he potentially could have got more, taking 50-50 with the Saudis, then this is why we're here, surely. Speaking to IFL TV, we're getting to a situation where one way or another we're going to have to make a decision. And we're not far off that. So the Sun are implying that Frank's demeanor was indicating that they're ready to walk away. And that, of course, will throw the Joe Joyce-Zhilei Zhang fight into doubt as well, because they're going to need a replacement if the Usyk fight doesn't happen for Fury. So that fight was supposed to happen on April the 15th at the Copper Box, but they'll be looking to do a big showdown at Wembley with Fury and Joyce, and they have no problem A-siding Joe Joyce, giving him 70-30 or whatever crumbs. They're not crumbs, it's good money. It's good money. Let's get that straight. But, you know, that's what they want, isn't it? Like, they got Derek for $3 million. They gave Dillian 25%. Joyce, I don't know, maybe because he's with Frank Warren, they might bump him up to 35 if he's lucky. And they're getting it cheap, cheerful, cheap as chips. And that's all they want. That's all they want. They're not concerned about Undisputed. You want to see the promoters who don't care about the fans, they're right there in front of you. I don't have to say their names. As far as I'm concerned, there's no reason why there's no announcement Monday morning, Undisputed fight at Wembley or Saudi Arabia, and we're good to go. What, you think Joe Joyce is going to satisfy the hardcore boxing demographic who want to see Undisputed? No, it's not. It's not. Joyce is a good fight, but it's not a good substitute for Undisputed. It just isn't.
But you was too fucking greedy.